Welcome to the Entrepreneur on Campus podcast. Let's go. My name is Matthew Brown. I am a student, I am an entrepreneur, and I love learning. I've created this podcast to help you discover hidden opportunities. Hey everybody, I say this every single time, but I am so excited for this interview that you guys can listen to. I interviewed Jeanette Bennett, and she is really an amazing woman. She's done a lot of things with her life, and she's very articulate, and it was really exciting. So let me tell you guys a little bit more about Jeanette. Jeanette Bennett founded Bennett Communications in 1998 after becoming a mother. Within a couple of years, she and her team created Utah Valley Magazine, which has become a renowned and reputable magazine here in Utah. Soon after, she launched BusinessQ Magazine, Utah Valley Bride, and Prosper Magazine. Jeanette received a master's degree in communications and media studies at Brigham Young University and an honorary doctorate in business from Utah Valley University. She's been a regular guest on BYURadio and HuffPost Live. She was listed as top woman entrepreneur in media by Folio in New York City, and she took third place in Dancing with the Community Stars. She's on the board of Silicon Slopes and the United Way of Utah County and has an amazing family with her husband and 5 kids. Jeanette has interviewed tons of people in her career, and she has tons of experience with publishing and with journalism and with public relations, reaching out to people. And so this interview will benefit anybody who is interested in developing relationships and building a following, in which honestly, in today's world, every single company needs to be able to build a following in some sort. And of course, connections are very valuable and important. And I asked Jeanette some questions like, if she were to start again today, where would she start from? What would she do? And we were able to get a lot of good insights from Jeanette. And so I hope that you guys appreciate this and enjoy it. And thank you so much for listening. Here it is with Jeanette. Awesome. So I'm here with Jeanette Bennett. Super excited to have you with me today,
I'm
Jeanette.
excited to be here. Thank you.
So I actually was looking through some old notes of mine, and I found a lecture that you'd given in 2016 that I'd attended.
What? At BYU?
At BYU. And at this time, I didn't even recognize that. Well, I didn't even know how I knew you, because we do have some connections.
Yes, we do.
But I found some of my personal notes, and there was something that really stuck with me that you said. And this is what it was. It was, you said your actions are evidence of what you want. I don't know if that's something you say a lot. Could you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, I was going to be surprised. What did I say? But now that I hear that, I'm like, oh yeah, I would have said that. My kids, if there's one phrase that they'll know that I say a lot, that is one of them. I think it's because I heard it when I was in college. Someone was giving a lecture, and they said it just kind of in passing, but it was like time stood still in that moment. And I wrote it down in my Franklin planner, and I just stared at it. And I just had that thought of this is going to matter to me. And it really has, because it's a lot of people talk about starting a business. A lot of people talk about writing a book. A lot of people talk about, oh, I need to call my mom today, or whatever it is. But if your actions don't back that up, then you must have not really wanted that. If you really want something, your actions have to be evidence of what they want. I always think of if the world were to freeze, and aliens came down and they would just only had the evidence to look at, they would be like, okay, well, this person must have wanted, they must have wanted to get in shape because every day they got up and went to the gym. This person must have wanted a degree because they went to class, or this person didn't want a degree because they signed up but never went, And so I always want my actions to be evidence of what I say that I want. I want those to line up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. I like I said, that was something that impacted me, and
I'm glad to hear that.
It's been something that I've thought about just throughout. What do I actually want? Yeah. And then is what I'm doing in line with that? And that's a very powerful thought.
Well, that's good. Well, I'm glad you remembered that.
Yeah. And then one of the other things, before we get into other things, is that I saw from that was you talked a lot about networking, building your personal network and your business network. And can you talk about that a little bit?
I think that is so important. There are the phrases, it's not what you know, it's who you know, and there's maybe some untruths of that too, but I do think your network is so important. And it's not just for business, it's also for personal enrichment, it's also for family connections. And I do feel like that's one great thing, and I'm in my mid-40s now, I can look back and realize I've met so many different people, and they've all enriched my life in a different way. I've learned something from all of them. And with social media and technology, we're able to gather those relationships. So I love that. But it's really so important to not just meet someone, but also keep that connection alive. To send a thank you note or reach back out to them as a reminder of, hey, we met, and this was my name. My name's a little bit hard to spell, and so I always kind of like to be the one to find them online or write to them, because I know they might have a hard time finding me. And I think that it's important. And then when you're looking for, a speaker for your youth group, or, if your son's looking for an internship, or you're looking for an internship, or you're looking to start a business, you need to talk to someone in banking. Well, you can look back and go, I met someone in banking. And so it's so important. And you don't want to just meet people and think, what can they do for me? That's not the right attitude either. You meet people and love them and are interested in them for just the pure joy of knowing and loving other people. But along the way, those relationships just enrich your life. And what helps me and what blesses me is that I'm able to help them as well. People will reach back to me and want, whatever they might need, an article or extra copies of the magazine because their scout group's going to do vision boards, or
you're both able to give.
Yeah. It's a giving relationship, and so I find that really rewarding.
And I know that you've networked with a lot of different people. Is there some kind of system that you have to say, like, okay, let's reach back out to this person? Or is it kind of just stay on the top of your mind at all times?
Well, I probably do need a better system. I participate in LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and I do different things and have different purposes for them. But I do try to connect with someone soon after on one of the formats. I try to find them. One story about that. So one of the things that I like to do, I participate back at the United Nations, the Commission on the Status of Women, which is an annual event in March back in New York. And I go with some friends, but then when I'm there, I just go to classes all by myself. So I'm usually in a room with nobody I know. And one day I sat down in a room with people I didn't know, and sat down by two ladies, and we said hi but didn't really start talking. And then, and I might have shared this story, I can't remember if it had happened when I spoke in 2016. I don't think it had yet. Anyway, one of the ladies got up and made a comment because she disagreed with what was being said, and I took a picture of her speaking up. And then when she sat back down, I showed her the picture and got her email and sent it to her. The next lady stood up and shared something, did the same thing. And that's just the journalist in me thinking people love pictures of themselves, and no one else would have thought to have taken a picture of them making a comment at the United Nations. But how cool to have that, So afterwards, I shared the pictures with both of them. The session ended. We started talking. We decided to take a selfie of the three of us. And then I posted that picture online and tagged them. Well, those two women have stayed my friends. We have connected. One's from Sweden, and one became the president of the National Council of Women 2 months later. I had no idea she was an important person. I mean, we're all at the same conference, but she ended up having this really significant role. And that has been valuable. I've been able to connect her to people here in Utah. I took a group of young women back the next year. We went and visited her at her office. Now those girls know the president of the National Council of Women. So, and it really only happened because I took the pictures and then took that next step of connecting. Otherwise, we probably would have lost each other's names just in the cloud, of life. Yeah. And so I do think, as far as a system, my system is just to participate on social media, and the photos and tagging and commenting, I think, is important.
Yeah, I love that. That's a great story to show the importance of networking, right?
Thanks.
So can you tell me a little bit about your journey and how you started Bennett Communications and everything?
Yes, good. Okay, so I went to BYU. I graduated in journalism and business. And then I actually got my master's while I was there too in communications. And then I worked at the Deseret News, enjoying that. I worked at the New Era magazine. I enjoyed that. And then I became a mom. So this was 21 and a half years ago that I had my oldest. And I really didn't know what to do when those worlds collided, because I had thought and talked so much about being a mom, but I had also, my actions were really showing that I wanted a career in journalism, because I had finished a bachelor's and a master's in that, and had some jobs that I had loved. And those worlds collided, and I quit my job because I'm supposed to be a stay-at-home mom according to what I felt like the culture was saying to me, and that's what my mom had been, and my aunts, and all of my friends' moms. But I just had this yearning inside. I didn't want to leave my baby, but I was like, I want to write, I want to create, and what could I do? And that was the moment I became an entrepreneur. I really think that if I hadn't become a mom, if for one reason or another that hadn't been my experience, I don't know if I would have become an entrepreneur. But because I had that need to be in control of my schedule and to work at home with a baby next to me, starting a business was the right thing for me. It's not right for everybody, but it was for me. And so that's when I started. And I started with some newsletters and some editing jobs. I started small, but from the very beginning, I used the term Bennett Communications. Before I registered it with the state, it was almost just like I was playing business. I was pretending, like, Bennett Communications, and I would kind of like air quote it or whatever. But then that like became real, you know? And I started to get a few little editing jobs and things that just, you know, people who knew me, kind of freelancing, exactly. And then we started, it was called Scholastic News Service. It was a national newsletter for high school journalism advisors, tiniest niche, but we risked $5,000 to print up a sample newsletter and put them in envelopes and mail them to every high school in the country. It was honestly the riskiest thing we've ever done, was that $5,000. Put it on a credit card, and I had, you know, my little baby at that point. But before I had to pay that credit card bill, we had enough orders back to pay off the $5,000.
Wow.
And that was a real proof of what we were doing, you know. And so we did that project for about 7 years. We don't do that anymore, but it was a good learning ground. It was always a tiny project.
So how do you make money from that?
People subscribe. So people would pay $50 or $60 depending on what they signed up for. And, you know, we had 500 to 700 schools sign up, so they would pay that $50 or $60. This was not a get rich quick, you know, but it was, we made money. But the more important thing than the money we made, which was not a lot of money, I learned the sales tax rules. I learned how to open a bulk mail permit. I learned how to manage my business account. And so it was like a little learning
platform.
ground. Yeah. And so on this little platform, and I did this with my little baby, and my husband had a job at a magazine company at that point, and I loved it. I mean, one of my favorite things to do every day was to drive to the P.O. box and see how many orders we got.
So exciting.
Sweet, we got 7 orders, you know, and then I would run home and enter it in the database. And I just started to just really feel the excitement of business, you know. And I remember we went to the Parade of Homes, and there was a house for sale for $400,000, which was, you know, astronomical at the time. Now that's like, you know, an average house, which is so sad. But I remember thinking, wow, if every school in the country subscribed to our newsletter, we could buy this house. And I just started feeling like there were so many possibilities.
Yeah.
And so it combined my new love of business, and I had minored in business, so I had taken a lot of business classes, but my purpose at the time was because I thought I was going to write about business. I thought I might write for Inc. magazine or Entrepreneur magazine. I didn't think I would start one, you know, and so I was always trying to remember what I had learned in my business classes and just loving that so much, and then always loving the journalism side of things. So starting this business really married my two interests.
Awesome. Wow.
Yeah, so that was 98 when we started the newsletters, and then in the year 2000, so 19 years ago, we launched Utah Valley Magazine. And that we still do that today. We do a lot of magazines, but that was our first magazine and still our flagship. And to print that first issue, my husband and I had built a little home and like really built it. My husband had laid the brick. We had painted it. We had done
all the physical labor that
we
goes
had
into
done
a
a lot of it, you know, not everything, but we had done the shingles. We had put a lot into it. So we had a little bit of equity. And so we'd only lived there a year and a half, but we sold it so that we could print that first issue. Sold our home, moved into an apartment. At this point, I had 2 babies. I'd had a second one by this point. And so we moved into that apartment, and all the equity went to print that first issue. Again, a risky move, but we had sold ads in that first issue. And we had sold enough that when we got paid for that, which wasn't immediate, people don't always pay their bills on time. That's one of the sad things I had to learn. But on paper, there was going to be some profit on that first issue. And so that was 2000, and from there we started Utah Valley Bride after that, and then BusinessQ. We do a lot of Parade of Homes magazines. We do a lot of magazines for network marketing companies. BYU Idaho has us do their alumni magazine. So we do a lot of different things.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but that's the beginning. That was where we started, and we did it out of our home with no employees for 2 years, and then after 2 years we got our first office and our first employee, and now we're in an office. We are still small. We have 12 employees, so We have some freelancers and part-timers, mostly people who used to work here and they're now raising young kids, and so they write for us
Get
kind of
involved with
part-time.
publishing and
Right. And so we're still a small company, but we do a lot of different things under this roof.
Awesome. That's so cool. So you said that how far into the business were you when you launched Utah Valley Magazine?
So we started the newsletter project in 1998, and then in 2000 we started the magazine.
So about 2 years in is when that magazine started, and it had some traction from the beginning.
Right from the start. And I am so grateful. In fact, I need to sit down and write a thank you note to every advertiser in that first issue, because they believed in something that did not yet exist. And that was a leap of faith on their part. And I think they caught the vision of what we were trying to do, which was to celebrate this particular part of Utah. North of us in Salt Lake County, they have 2 newspapers, they have multiple magazines, multiple TV stations. But south of the point of the mountain, here in Utah County, the Provo area, there's not a lot of media. We don't have our own TV stations. There is a newspaper. It's not as strong as the other ones in Salt Lake. And so I think Utah County was ready for an additional media source.
Okay.
And so the timing was right.
And did you profit in the same way through subscription? Is that kind of how that worked?
Yes, so there are 3, well, there's more than 3, but 3 main ways that we make money. And the primary one is actually ad sales. So people purchase display ads in the magazine. So like the back cover ad, the inside cover ad, and mostly full pages, but we also sell some half pages, third pages, and smaller. And then subscriptions is the second way, and people can sign up to get it for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. That's become a little bit difficult because people are so used to free content that at times people are like, $10? Like, hey, that's 1 Cafe Rio burrito, you know, and that gets you 6 magazines, you know, for the year. And then newsstand is the third way, and so we sell it in stores, and those stores, the way that works is they keep half the money, we keep half. So if a magazine is $4, they keep 2, we keep 2. There is some profit margin in there. It's about $1 to print the magazine, you know, so it's not like that's a real profit center for us. It's the advertising primarily, and then the other 2
And
secondarily.
so what if one of these network marketing companies comes to you? Do they hire you, or do you get commission, or how does that work?
That's a good question. So we have 2 business models there. The one we do the most often is they come to us and they want a magazine. We own the titles of Prosper and Celebrating Women. We have national distribution for those 2 titles. And they can come to us and say, we would like to be in Prosper or Celebrating Women. And so we will do a whole issue for them where we highlight their top distributors, their products, their founding story, and all of that. And there will be other articles in there about how to run a home-based business and about the economy, things that aren't only about them, but we would never write about a competitor in the same magazine. And then they'll buy, say, 20,000 copies. That's a common number or something like that they'll hand out at their convention, or that they'll sell to their distributors to then use as tools. That's the most common way. The other one that we have done at times, and it works in some cases, is they don't pay us anything, but they allow us to be at their convention. This works for big companies when they say, you can produce the magazine kind of with our blessing, we'll help you, and then you set up a store at our big convention where we have 30,000 people coming, and you sell it.
Gotcha.
And we have done that, and it's worked. But a startup company, we would never agree to that. Because that's too risky for us. And so that's been fun. And actually that started in 2008. So 8 years into the magazine venture, we started doing that. And it came at a good time because the economy was taking a dip around then. And so our ad sales in our other magazines were dropping. But in an economy like that, network marketing picks up because people are looking for a little extra money.
Side hustles.
Yes. And so when the economy's down, people are like, I think I could sell some makeup, or I could sell some juice. You know, I need an extra $500 a month. And so network marketing, that part of our company picked up right then. And so it made a great revenue stream.
That's really cool.
So the different categories that we work on tend to do that. When one's up, the other's down.
It's very convenient, right?
So home building is another vertical that we work in. So we do a lot of Parade of Homes magazines. And
is that just in Utah, Parade of Homes?
No, they're actually nationwide. And so some of our clients, we do one in Northern Illinois, do one in Fargo, and we've done some in other parts of the country, but we primarily do them here in Utah, St. George, Utah County, Cache County, northern Wasatch. And you go and you put on the little booties and you tour the homes, and then we sell ads to the builders and other subcontractors, so that when people go and attend the parade, pick up the magazine. Yes, yeah. I love the cabinets. Who built them? Oh, they're on page 19. Yeah. And so that's been a fun project for us. And home building has gone up and down, but so does network marketing. And so it ends up being pretty even. I think when we started our business, some of our family members, who won't be named, were like, this is so risky. But the thing is, we have actually had a very stable revenue stream. For whatever reason, blessings, brilliance, I don't know what, but we have kept a really steady business. We have so many pieces to it that they kind of even out, and it's been very steady.
Wow, well, that's great. Yeah. So something that you kept mentioning is, it sounds like a lot of these are in print, right? They're not digital. Right. Mm-hmm. How has your business changed with the adaptions of technology?
That is a great question, and I think about it every single day, and it's also probably the most common thing I get asked. And the world has completely changed, because in 2000, when our first issue came out, Facebook did not exist. So neither did Instagram, Twitter, any of that.
Completely different world now.
Completely different world. The internet existed, but it wasn't so pervasive. It wasn't everything. It was almost for fun at the time. It was almost like a gimmick. If people had a website, oh, that's cool. But no one was buying things online. And also texting was really uncommon. I didn't send my first text till I think it was 2003, when I was featuring this technology CEO on the cover, and he asked me to follow up with him with a text. And I said, sure, I'm happy to do that. And I'm like, how do you text? How do you text? He was my first text, which I think that's a great.
And you didn't know how to Google it at this time?
No,
either?
there was no. You can't Google it. You're just like,
look up how to text.
And I have a flip phone. I'm like, okay, I think if I hit three times, and E comes up, So that was then, and now, social media, technology, everything has changed so much. The way we consume content has changed so much. And so it has affected how we do things. We have all of our content online on our website, utahvalley360.com. And also on the different social media channels, we have strategies of dripping content out there as well, with the hope of sending people back to either our website or to our printed magazine. But our advertisers, they have multiple choices now, whereas when we began, they really didn't have a lot of choices. They could advertise with us, they could buy a billboard, they could send you a postcard in the mail, they could buy a radio ad. But now you can buy a Facebook ad, you can sponsor something on Instagram, you can, there's influencer marketing. It's changed a lot. And so we're aware of that. And yet there is still a really good market for a printed magazine. Everybody wants to be in the magazine. We get flooded, especially with Utah Valley Bride. One of the main things we do is sort through people who are wanting to be in the magazine. So we know people love to read it. And so that's what we keep telling our advertisers. This is a great place to be. This is where the eyeballs are. And then with our advertisers, we have package deals. If they buy a print ad, then it also comes with so many online shout outs, and there'll be a digital version. And then you have content to put on your website, because you can link back from ours. And so it's still a really valuable thing. And actually, this is sort of interesting. A few of our clients, so we have some network marketing clients and also BYU Idaho, who've told us this same story. They've had print publications. Then they decide, we could save a lot of money just going digital. So they go digital. And then what they find is that people they don't read if you send them an e-newsletter or you just have a Facebook strategy.
It's just another email, right?
It's just another email. The shelf life is seconds. If it doesn't catch their eye, it's gone. And so we've had network marketing companies and BYU Idaho that have come to us and said, we need something in print again, because we need engagement to go up with our readers, and we need donors. We need them to feel a connection to the company or to the college, and so they've added print back in. We get very inundated with our digital, with just scrolling, scroll, and to have something that lands on your desk, lands on your coffee table, there is something different about that. There's something tangible about that. Now, I think digital has a lot of power, and I use it all the time. I use it to get story ideas. If I'm trying to get ideas for our Angels Among Us story, and I throw up a question, I'll have 20 ideas in 10 minutes, and I love that. And I see the power in it for sure. I also think there's power in print.
Yeah, awesome. That's great. That's great to hear. So right now you've had a very successful business. Utah Valley Magazine is extremely popular here in Utah.
Thank you.
So let's just imagine for a second that all this was non-existent. Maybe you have all the experience, but all your business, everything, all the reputation, it just didn't exist. Is this something that you would try to start again? Has the market changed significantly?
The market has changed significantly. When people come to us and they say, I want to start a magazine.
Yeah.
My husband Matt and I are usually like, do you have any other ideas?
Yeah.
And it's not that we're trying to keep people out of the space for competitive reasons.
Right.
We just want them to succeed.
Yeah.
And I think part of the reason that we have succeeded is we've been doing it a long time. We've been doing it for 20 years. There's some legacy of what we're doing. And what we have done with Utah Valley Magazine and BusinessQ has led to those other publications. So, in fact, the network marketing piece came because I did an article in Utah Valley Magazine on a network marketing company that then came to us and said, well, you do a full magazine. Yeah, I think we could do that. And then from there, we've now done, 100 of those.
Yeah.
And so the magazine is a great door opener.
Mm-hmm.
We could contact really any business, almost anyone in town, and they would say, yes, we want to talk to you.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in the beginning, when no one had heard of us, it was like, now who are you?
Yeah.
I don't know, I'm kind of busy,
Yeah.
So.
They're probably kind of worried, too, that their name might come out in a poor respect.
They don't know if this is a tabloid. They don't know what kind of tone this is going to have. And so we have the benefit now of, I think, people having a good brand. Where someone's starting brand new, it would be difficult for them. But the thing is, so there are fewer people going into journalism. That's what I wanted to study. I'm so glad I studied that. I love that. Fewer people are going into that because they see journalism as a dying art. And newspapers are not thriving. I'll be honest about that. But journalism isn't just newspapers. And it's not just magazines. People are consuming more content than ever before. Our eyeballs take in so many words a day. Mm-hmm. And every company needs someone to create that content and to help brand them through words, through different platforms. So there are actually a lot of jobs for content creation. Mm-hmm. It's just different than it was when I graduated from BYU 25 years ago, whatever it was.
Right.
It just looks different. But if you're a storyteller, if people love to tell stories and love to interview people, awesome.
Yeah.
I would hire you. I'm looking to hire someone right now, and I know other companies, they'll ask me too, do you know anyone who could help us with our blogs, with our newsletters, with our, presentations that we do? And so someone who's good with words, good with storytelling, good with people, that's still a great field.
Yeah.
Still a great field.
There's a lot of people that are trying to sell information products, right? And
right.
They have these huge email sequences and sales letters and also blogs and like everything is turning digital. A lot of things are turning digital.
Yeah. So content creation is a great field. You just have to open your eyes to what that could mean.
Yeah.
It's different than what I thought it meant. And for those students whose parents are like, I don't think you should go into journalism, they might not understand that there is a market.
Yeah.
The parents might not, is what I'm saying, but if a student loves to tell a story, I just love it. Like, I love to meet someone and I want to hear your story. Yeah. And then I want to sit down and figure out how to tell that story in a succinct way that will bless that person. They'll put it in their scrapbook forevermore. And, I love to be that person. And so I wouldn't have wanted to go into accounting or something else. This was my passion.
Yeah.
And so when you're passionate about something, you end up loving it. You end up doing well with it, really, if you keep your mind open.
Yeah. And so what would you say are some of the biggest pros to journalism, and what are some of the biggest maybe cons, the most difficult parts of your business?
Yeah, okay. The things that are awesome about journalism is that we get to shine a light. And the type of journalism that I do is very positive, right? I'm not an investigative, tear-down journalist. Mm-hmm. There is that, and I'm glad that doesn't have to be me, that I don't have to put a crime story on my front page and highlight the worst day in someone's life, But the journalism that we do, we tell the story of what has gone right for people. It's not all roses and unicorns and rainbows. People tell us their life story. I love to interview people who have processed some of the challenges in their life. In fact, your grandpa, Stephen Covey, one of the things that I loved about him, he talked about as a boy the physical challenges that he had, and how he was going to be an athlete. He was going to do all these amazing things physically with sports. And then because of some challenges, he fine-tuned his mind and became a thinker, He became the world's best author. And that challenge led him to something else. So I love to interview people who can look in their lives and go, this didn't go the way I wanted, and I'm so glad because I learned this. And because of that challenge, I had to develop this character trait. And so, it's not like we tell just a rose-colored story.
It's the realities of life.
It's the realities of life, but with a positive spin on it. And so I love to be able to do that. It's my favorite thing, to write about people, and I know that my readers are going to learn something new. That makes me happy. And then I love it when someone I've written about reaches back and they said, wow, we talked for an hour, but you took it and you made it beautiful and you made sense.
You understood it so well.
Yeah, you made sense of my ramblings. They might say something like that sometimes. And I find a lot of joy in that.
Yeah.
The challenges are the finances of it, honestly. It's a very moving target, so figuring out how to make a profit, how to have a good business model based on journalism, that's the hard part. There's a lot of competition for marketing dollars and marketing strategies now. And so just trying to learn and stay up with the times. Those are some of the challenges. But I think we have found a pretty good mix between our own publications where we sell ads and then these custom publications we do where companies hire us, and then that's just for one client, so we just need one client to be happy and to pay. And so we have a variety of things that we do under our umbrella here. So I think that's part of it, is just getting creative.
Yeah.
For a long time, blogging and social media, it was for fun, but then people started figuring out how to make it a business.
Right.
And there are people who are so smart, so savvy, and they've just followed the trends, they followed the audience, they followed the technology, and they make a living doing it. They make a great living, and so that's just you just have to kind of be the person who's curious and continuing to adapt.
Yeah. So you say that sometimes you have people approach you and they say, I want to start a magazine, and you think maybe, are you sure you want to do that?
Yeah.
So let's say that this person is like, I really want to, I don't know if it's a magazine, I just want to be a content creator and I want it to be my own company. How, what source, where would you say to start? Would you say doing a blog? Where would you, if somebody wants to be a content creator and be an entrepreneur, they're just set on it, where would you go?
So I would say pick the smallest niche you can handle.
Small and specific.
Small and specific. Seth Godin talks about that. Pick the smallest audience you can possibly manage with, and then be everything to that audience. So whether that's a geographic audience, or whether that's a sport, or an age group, or a medical condition, or whatever it is.
So that's what I did for this podcast, actually. It's for entrepreneurs, aspiring entrepreneurs that are in college, that are interested in learning about the business world. And what I do is I interview people like yourself who've done very well in their specific industries and fields, and we talk about the problems of journalism and the good things about journalism and going into these different industries. So I feel like that was pretty niche specific.
Yeah, that was smart. Yeah, then you're everything to a small group. So I think that is really smart. So if I were going to start again, and I might be like, okay, who do I know and what do I love? Okay, maybe I know a lot of dentists, and I am going to really focus on technology and dentistry. And for a while, I'm going to write content, and I know I'm not going to get paid for it, but I'm going to create a library in my blog and in my social media. I would grab cool handles on Instagram and Twitter. Keep your brand consistent on all the platforms. Start following, commenting, interacting with all the right people online. Physically meet people. So physically go to networking events or industry conferences and be outgoing. I would say I'm probably a natural introvert. I really enjoy time by myself. But I have over the years realized it's so beneficial to just kind of push myself out of my chair a little bit and turn around to the person behind me and say, hi, I'm Jeanette, what's your name? It's so easy not to do that. And it makes me a little bit sad, and this is one of my concerns for your generation, honestly, is that it's so easy to get lost in your phone. If you're standing in line in the airport security place by yourself, it's so easy to just be on your phone. If you're in the Walmart line, Cougar Eat, wherever you are, it's so easy to not talk to someone because you don't feel lonely if you're in your phone. Put your phone down, honestly talk to someone, shake their hand, look them in the eye, make a connection, remember their name, call them by name. And it really isn't that hard to make friends, even for an introvert like myself, because you just need that moment of smiling at someone, looking them in the eyes, and they will appreciate the connection too.
Everyone wants friends.
Everybody does. I've encountered very few rude people, to be honest. If you're the one reaching out, then they're usually excited and willing to connect back. And so that is one thing I would say. You need friends in real life.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just do this all digitally and have the same sort of satisfaction and influence that you want. So in that niche, go to places where those people are, interact, tell people what you're doing.
Get your name out there.
Yeah. Here's my dream. Here's my vision. Talk about it really positively. I would say envision it. Start talking like I did in the beginning. I was calling it Bennett Communications before it was anything.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then it comes true. It came true. And so, at times we've done that with revenue. There was a month that we needed to bring in $100,000 because we had certain print obligations and stuff. I just kept saying it out loud. We need $100,000 to come in. This was earlier on in the company. That month, I was so amazed, but we brought in $100,300.
Just perfect.
And I think it's just because I just kept saying it, like, this is the goal, this is what's going to happen, and the team kind of got on board, and the universe delivered it. I don't know exactly, but just when you start talking like it's real,
mm-hmm.
Then other people will be like, oh, I just met this guy. He does a dental blog, or whatever it is you're doing, or he does this blog for accounting. I'm not saying it's just blogs, but whatever it is. He has a Twitter account, or he's creating an event for accounting students, whatever it is. Just start to be known for that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And have that niche, and then people will start wanting to collaborate with you and seeing you as an expert.
I love it. That's great. So your husband works here as well.
Mm-hmm.
What's that like to work with your husband? How have your roles changed over the years?
Yeah, that is a great question. And I have a lot of people tell me, oh, I could not work with my husband. But for us, it's really been a blessing. It's been awesome because we also have 5 kids, and we've raised them while we've been raising this magazine. And so it's been a very collaborative effort between the two of us, both at work and at home. And so we both graduated in journalism, but we have different skill sets. Matt he's better at designing and photography, and I'm the word person, I'm the finance person, and I'm more of the public face of what we do, and I do more of the speaking and events. And so it's been a good match that way. We have a joined office right now, but we initially weren't sure we would love to share an office. So we each have a door because we thought we might put a wall up at some point. We might be like, okay, I need some space. We've never built the wall between us because we like to be able to, and it's not all day long, but throughout the day we'll run things past each other. Hey, have you, I need help with this tagline, or and also kid things, like today we were like, did you get that text that, our daughter has an orthodontist appointment tomorrow? Oh, no, I hadn't seen that.
Yeah.
So we're
it's just so interconnected.
It's just all one and the same. And then one of us always goes home after school and is home to pick kids up, run them around. And so I couldn't do this. I wouldn't have chosen to do this without a husband who was part of it, because it would have been too hard. I wouldn't have wanted to be gone from my kids as much as that would have required. Yeah. And so for me, it's just been a great thing. We also do some work at home. We have a full office at home as well. But now that the kids are all in school, I like to come to work more.
Yeah.
When I'm home, I just see the laundry, and I just, the neighbors stop by. Hey, do you want to, So I like to come to work. But when the kids are home, I like to be home too.
Yeah.
As far as our relationship, I would say it's 99% awesome to work together. The hardest part is not that we fight, because we actually really don't. It's more, the hard part is just at times one of us wants to be done with work and the other person wants to talk about it. Like at 10 o'clock at night, Matt might be like, hey, did you go over the, the profit breakdown on that project? And I'll be like, are you serious? I wanted to look at Facebook right now, And so that's been the tricky thing. We try not to talk about it a ton around the kids, although just because we don't want to bore them, we want to be interested in them when we're with them. Mm-hmm. But they have been involved in the business in different parts, and I've really liked that too.
Yeah.
And at times when we've been saving for a vacation, we'll tell the kids, like, hey, if we land this project, we're going to be able to do this, do this trip, Like our son right now wants a hot tub really bad.
Yeah.
So he's like, but if you got this project, then how would it be? Or what if I helped deliver those magazines? You could save the postage because I would be doing it, and I like that they're thinking that way.
Yeah. So
it's been a fun way to raise the family.
That's great. So I'm curious about, you had experience studying in college communications and business.
Right. Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts about, how in today's age, my generation is very interested in entrepreneurship.
Right.
A lot of people are kind of pushing back against college.
I'm hearing
what are your
that too.
thoughts about like college education versus trade school versus starting a business?
Right. I do have some strong opinions about this.
Great.
I think college is the best place for a young adult to be for a variety of reasons. Part of it is the network. You know, some of the people that I met in college, classmates and professors, have ended up being colleagues in different ways. I've hired them, they've hired me for different projects. And so that was the beginning of my network. Is I was in classrooms with like-minded people, and then over the years it's like, oh, we need a cartoonist. Remember Aaron from our class? He does political cartoons. Let's hire him. That kind of thing. It's a great place to grow a network. I think it's also really important to be someone who does hard things, that develops a work ethic. And college will do that for you. And the great thing about it is in a semester's time, so in 4 months' time, you start and you finish something. So you reach a finish line. I think it's really a good quality to be someone who can get to a finish line. There's a lot of quitters.
Yeah.
You know, and I've been a quitter at times, at things, you know, at certain things, like my diet or my giving up of Diet Coke. You know, I quit things sometimes. But I think you want to be a person who can push through even when it's not fun anymore. And so at the beginning of the semester, it's fun. Oh, this textbook, this is going to be great. Halfway through, 3/4 of the way through, you're like, I'm kind of hating this topic. Maybe on some of your classes you're feeling that way. But to be someone who finishes, because there are parts of a career and of running a business that are not fun. I don't really love managing our circulation, you know, the subscribers, that database and the different parameters and the different sales tax things associated with that, I don't like.
Yeah.
But I have to push through. I have to force myself, sit in this chair, solve this problem, and I think college helps you develop that part of your personality. You finish something. So finish a semester, finish a degree. I think ideally you finish a degree. You go and you finish. There are definitely employers who value education. Not everybody does, but no one will look down on you if you have a degree. You know, it's always a plus. And I think it's good for confidence boosting as well. I think it's important, especially for women, to finish their education. There's so many stats, and you know, I am a woman, and I speak to a lot of young women, so I'm really passionate about this.
Yeah.
But you know, women within education, they tend to vote more, they tend to get involved in their community more, they tend to have healthier babies, healthier marriages, and I think a lot of it is it builds confidence. You feel like your doors are open. And I'm one, you know, and with my college age students, I always tell them, keep the doors open. You know, do an internship, finish this program, go on this study abroad. You know, keep your doors open, because life's a long time and you're going to want to walk through doors. If you only have, you know, one door open, if you've closed a bunch of them, then your options are limited. And if the market changes, or if your network shrinks, or if you move to a different town and you've only got one tiny door, you know, open, that's hard.
Yeah.
And so education throws those doors open. I think it's wise. I think when you go to school, don't just go for the grades. Don't just go to finish this and then delete it all from your brain. Like, go to learn. You know, don't try not to worry about the grade as much as just like, what could I learn from this professor? What could I learn from the other students in my
How does this
group
apply
project?
to my life?
Yeah,
Live it,
yeah, right. And try and develop that curiosity.
Yeah.
I think someone who's curious will continue to be successful, because there's always like, I wonder if there's a better way for that, or I wonder why they did it that way. And all of a sudden you start learning. And so go and be a student, not just a box checker. Be a learner.
Yeah.
You know. So I am a big fan of a college education. Entrepreneurism, does it require it? No. When you're your own boss, are you going to need a resume? Probably not. But I just think it's still just so valuable. And it's the best thing to do with your life at that time. Ideally, you know, you'd get an education and start a business at the same time. I mean, that would be amazing. And then those doors are open. You know,
I love it. Yeah.
When you're my age, so I'm 44, and I have friends my age who are thinking about going back to school. It's painful when you're older. It's just out of your comfort zone, and you're trying to figure out textbooks again. It's better to just get in the groove when you're
finish it.
Yeah. You know, be a finisher, and then take that trait with you throughout your life.
Yeah. That's something my mom would always say. She says, like, almost everybody gets 95% of the way there, and then they don't finish the last 5%.
Right.
It's just a little bit of pushing through, and then you're done, right?
Yeah, your mom's a wise woman.
So you recently received an honorary doctorate.
Yes.
I saw that.
Yeah.
You took 3rd place in Dancing with the Community Stars. You've been a regular guest on HuffPost Live. You've acted as a moderator for business panels and political debates, and you're a mother of 5 children. What gives you the spark and passion to take on all of these different things?
I've been thinking about that because I think we always just think that whatever we do is normal, and then when you start realizing, oh, my kids don't think like I do, or my friends don't, or something, like maybe there is something different about me. I don't know. I've always just had this desire. I'm a little bit competitive.
Yeah.
In first grade.
You like to win.
I like to win. I don't want to lose. In first grade, there was this reading contest, and whoever could read how many books till Christmas or something, Well, I didn't know who was reading how many books, so I was just like, well, I'm going to win. And I have no idea what it's going to take to win, so I'm just going to read like crazy. So I read 234 books.
What?
And the next
how
person,
long was this time period?
It was from October to Christmas or something.
Are you kidding me? Just small little books, though.
But I also was reading chapter books at that point, but they were littler ones, you know. But I would just read multiple books a day. So 234 books. The next person read 50 or something. And so I won this big book of amazing facts. I still have it. And I won a marker set, for being the first place. And I think that just sort of describes just the mindset that I had of I might not be, I think part of it, I compensate because I wasn't the most outgoing person. I'm still not the life of the party, And so I think I compensate for that by being but I could be the hardest worker. I know I could do that. And I think that's how I approached that book reading thing. And so that kind of shows you a little bit of my mindset, I'm going to put everything I have into this, and see how far we can go. And I'm someone who likes to take action. I don't really watch TV. I do go to movies with my family, but I usually sleep through them. Unfortunately, my husband actually brings a pillow for me to the movies because you're just gonna.
That's awesome.
Let's just get you comfortable, And so I just cram things in. Sometimes I see my life as a game of Tetris. I'm seeing what can I fit in, Today I'm going to go home. I'll be the early parent today after school, but I'm I know I have some of this work that I can do at home, so I'll save that for then, So I'm always just trying to figure that out. But it's been a good life. There's trade-offs. I'm not a good cook. My house is not perfectly clean. My windshield has had a crack in it for 3 months, and I'm just
So,
I'll get around to it eventually, But I'd rather write or interview or work on my business than some of these other things. I don't do crafts, So it's just a trade-off.
Yeah, those are things that you're really passionate about. That's great.
Yeah.
So just a couple more questions that I have. Do you have a specific morning routine that helps you get set and ready for the day?
I like to do on my perfect mornings, which not every morning is a perfect morning. I like to do 3 things before my kids get up, and that's exercise and read some spiritual material, so scriptures or other talks that I'm studying, and then some thinking time, some meditation time. That's something I've had to kind of teach myself because my mind is noisy. I'm always thinking of a lot of things. And then life is noisy, and my kids are noisy. But I've needed to calm myself a little bit because I find myself, because I'm interested in so many things, sometimes I'm going a million directions and not really accomplishing as much as I'd like to. Because I'm just barely getting some things done. And so I've been trying to meditate a little bit more to just focus on who I am, what are my goals, what can I do today to move the needle towards something that's important to me, not just in business, but in my family or my health. So in a perfect morning, I do those things. Once the kids get up, then I'm in mom mode. And so I like to have a little bit of pre-mom mode time. But I have found at times in my life I have given up exercise, and I am not ever going to do that again. Because
not worth it.
I just need it, I crave it. My brain is on fire most of the day, and so I need that time when my body's on fire. I can kind of turn the brain off. Sometimes I don't listen to anything. Sometimes I use that time to learn, but listen to a podcast or a book or something. But I just think it's important, and most entrepreneurs that I've interviewed will say the same thing.
Just push your body.
Like, push your body, because when you push your body, you also remember you can push your mind.
Yeah.
And
you're telling yourself who's in control, right?
Yeah.
And I found that same thing with meditation as well. As sometimes I'll wake up and I have all of these different marbles bouncing around in my head, thinking about school, thinking about all these different things I need to do, and just sitting down, like taking some deep breaths, just being present in the moment, letting everything calm down.
You're smart to have figured that out so young. You know, I do think it's really, really important, because otherwise everyone else will tell you what to think about. Yeah, so I think it's important, like you're saying, to show who's in charge. I also think I found this with running. So I hesitate to say I'm a runner, because that sounds like I'm good at it, but I enjoy it. Okay, so
just embrace it. You're a runner.
I am
Jeanette.
such a good runner. I'm like an elite runner. I'm just headed to the Olympics. But anyway, when you first start running, a half mile is hard.
Yeah.
A mile is hard. And then you're like, soon you can run 2. And then before you know it, you can run 3, and then you can run 4. And then you run a half marathon. And you're like, wow. And it just came from building on something consistently. And so your mind and your business, everything can be that same way. It takes consistency, and it takes effort, and it takes belief. But over time, you can do it. You know, if you had never been a runner, you can't wake up one morning and run a marathon. You physically could not do it. And if you have not started a business, you're not going to start the next Google by Friday. You're not. But if you take steps every day towards your goal, that's how you get there.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's cool to see the progress in a body and in a mind.
Which can give anybody hope, right? Because if you want to do something, it's just taking one step every day.
Yeah, exactly. Take one step every day. There's a book called The Slight Edge that it talks about the compounding effect of, you know, if you just did it for 10 minutes a day, well, over a week it adds up to this, over a month it's this, and over, 2 years you've done this many more minutes of reading, studying, working, whatever it was that someone else had not done. And anyway, there's lots of examples of that, but there just is a compounding effect of the way you spend your time.
Yeah, I love it. Your actions are evidence of what you want.
That's right. Coming full circle.
Yeah. And to finish off, 2 questions that are just personal questions that I have, but I think they actually really relate to this interview. Content creation, publishing, that kind of business is having interviewed and connected with so many amazing and influential people. What tips do you have for people like myself who are building a platform right now to connect with those influencers?
Okay. So I do think it's really important to make those connections. So I'm glad you're asking that question. I would participate in the online conversation, comment, like, retweet, definitely do that. And then you need to meet some of these people in person. So when you go to a Silicon Slopes Summit or the Qualtrics Summit or wherever you're going, participate in the conversation, use the hashtags that are part of that conference. Then go and find everyone else who's using that hashtag, follow them, interact with them, and then start to create your own content on there, become a voice that has something to say. I think that's really important, to be part of the digital conversation, but also to look people in the eye and have them remember you. That's really, really important. One conference I went to, it was one of the UN conferences I went to, I wore red boots, like knee-high red boots. I wore them the whole week because I'm like, people will just be like, oh, there's the lady in the red boots. And I know she's pro-family and she's pro-faith. There's that lady. So if we need to talk to someone. Anyway, sometimes being memorable, just sticking out some way is the key, is one of the keys. Yeah. So I think that's really, really valuable.
I love it. And the last one, what tips do you have on becoming a better interviewer?
Ooh.
Because you've interviewed a lot of people.
I think you did awesome.
Oh, thank you.
No, you did really well. I guess the main thing I would just say is go in prepared with questions, but then be a listener. When I've watched interviewers on TV, even some national shows, and I just see the interviewer go from one question to the next without responding to what they said, I think they're not even listening.
Yeah.
Like that conversation could have gone completely
They just have the
over
next
here.
question in their minds, just waiting, right?
So the best thing is to be a listener and then respond back. Some of the questions that I like to ask people is, tell me more about that, which is not that sophisticated of a question, but sometimes there's more to the story, but they've stopped. So tell me a little bit more about that. Or I'll say, can you give me an example of that? If someone will say, I had a hard childhood, I didn't really have a lot of confidence. Well, can you give me an example of what that looked like for you?
Yeah.
Because I always want to get to the story. People like stories more than just superfluous ideas, And so I like people to tell me a story so that I can put the story in the magazine or online. So always trying to get to the story.
Love it.
Yeah.
That's great.
Good.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Jeanette.
thank you. It's been fun to reconnect with you.
It's been awesome.
Thanks.
Guys, that was awesome. I'm so glad that Jeanette was able to be the first woman on the podcast and that she was able to speak so eloquently and describe her business model and how that kind of publishing business functions and how you can make money through it and the importance of developing relationships and establishing connections and maintaining those connections, developing a system to track those connections. I'm so grateful for the opportunity to even share these interviews with you guys. The digital age is amazing, and there's so much to be grateful for, and I love doing this. It's honestly just a big hobby of mine, and it's been so much fun to connect with these individuals. I hope that you guys are getting value from this and that you're learning about the different industries and that you're looking to take action and looking into the industry a little bit more and deciding whether it's something you want to go into or not. I was thinking about it today, and I think most people, they go and start a business in whatever they're exposed to. So if your dad does insurance, then you're likely to do insurance. But maybe you're not meant to do insurance. Maybe you would be so good at e-commerce and you don't know it because you don't have any exposure to it. And so that is the whole purpose of this podcast, is to increase your exposure to all of the different industries and all of the business world so that you can decide for yourself what fits you. So I hope that you guys really enjoy this. Got some more exciting guests coming up. Have fun. Take care. Have a good day. See ya.